And my nurse decided to send me a message saying that she's going to be 20 minutes late. That's fine. I don't expect her until 10 to 11 anyway. You know, they changed the times and all that. So that ought to be okay to make the video right now because everybody in this house is asleep. She's not expected. And there's the confirmation message. Anyway, Purple Butterfly Soap is peopla.etsy.com. Blog is located at purplebutterfly-peopla.blogspot.com. Stuff like that always tends to throw me off. Anyway, let's finish cutting this up. Yep. Because even though the design came out straightforward, like towards the end, you know how your hand gets tired and you're starting to squeeze, so forth and so on. I'm thinking some of the design might have did its own thing. Wow. Okay, this one looks like a heart. Look at that. Just in time for Valentine's, except for it has no smell. I'll probably spray that with some peppermint or something and hope it absorbs in, but history has proven that's not always the case. In fact, I think I'm going to go from the other end. Let's see what it looks like on that side. I think maybe the lard, with it being a hard soap, didn't need the SS4 treatment, which is why I'm getting a crumble. But I don't mind either way. See, that's a little differentiation in the design, and that's fine. No smell. Just to prevent that lard effect. Ooh, you can see the pattern of the pressing seal on there. Well, not lard effect, the crumble effect. Everybody knows that the top is always softer. Really, the top is always softer than the bottom. So I'm going to see if I can cut it from the other direction and see what happens. And then if it doesn't work doing it that way, guess what? You know, with it being the top and all, I can say, yep, I meant to do that. What's this red? It didn't have a red. Oh, that's a speckle. Okay, that's a speckle from the deep pink, which made the main color. It's called strong pink. It's aquamarine. But that I could have swore I blended completely in, but I did blend it with an oil. So oils will give a speckle effect in aquamarine. Let's get this popping, shall we? Then I could do this to the top and give it a slightly rustic quality. I just moved the cutter over so that way, move this in, I could get in the camera without having to fight myself. And this is virtually without having to slam it at all. It was getting well, it was almost liquid. So when I went to, jog it, the whole thing shifted like this. I was like, I'm not going to jog this too much because I didn't want it to, slosh about and ruin the design. So there's no air bubbles per se, but there's a couple of spots where it might have been able to use extra jogger too. I just learned a trick. If I drag it along the edge, that rough crumble look goes away. Set it up part right there, and that wipes right off. Look at the top. Or actually, that's the bottom. That is so neat. Okie dokie. Continue on. Because just like they say in Smokey the Bandit, it's got a long way to go, and a short time to get there. We're going to do what they say can be done. Alrighty then. Actually, I'm thinking this was just a little bit too soft. Even though it's solid, that crumble is because of the soap dragging through the cutter. So maybe if I let it set up a little bit more, that would have been better. But this is one of those things where I just wasn't trying to wait. So apparently my rainbow is a pastel rainbow. Ooh, Easter. Renewal of spirit and blooming colors and all that. So don't even have to worry about, oh, I don't have a fun, girly, flowery color for Valentine's Day. I can just say, hey, it's Easter, so. And of course, by then, because y'all know me, I would have made 6 or 7 more by the time Easter rolls around. Plus, since this is the end of January, I don't have to rush it on Karen because, hey, 4th of July, Valentine's Day is coming up. You know what I mean? It'll have enough time to do what it do. There we go. And a few more of these. And we'll be happy. Oh, well. Let me do this right quick. Every now and then when you have a soap that drags and you see this on your cutter, that will affect your cut soap. So I handle that by getting rid of the drag. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I used the cheese cutter over there, because it uses wire and a different method, so it minimized that occurrence. But I haven't set up a wire to go from here through that I could pull and all that yet. I've seen one. It's actually part of a cutter system where you have a blade and you have the wire. I just haven't figured out how to duplicate that occurrence yet, so I'm on my own with that. Yeah, no, I'm saying. A little slippery, but hey. That one did a whole different effect. I don't know if it's because it's at the end or what, but nice. Now let's see how these last few are going to do. Let's get this little crumble part out the way. I'm also going to look up what causes crumbly soap. I'm really, really sure it's the hardening ingredient I put in there, the SS4, which is a salt solution based on 4 ounces of liquid compared to, you know, hey, I use sodium lactate. I don't use anything unnatural in my soaps. And sodium lactate, even though it is natural, it is not naturally occurring. They extract it from nature and then sell it to you for a lot of money. Whereas, you know, a couple of tablespoons of table salt and some hot water makes a very good sodium lactate type thing. In other words, I added salt water and I get a nice hard bar soap. In fact, it's harder than the average sodium lactate soap that I've ever used. So that's what made it very appealing to me, the fact that, hey, it's all natural. It can be found in my kitchen. It didn't cost me anything extra. You know, you fight your battles where you can. There's like some things, like vanilla, is all natural. I know vanilla's all natural. I've used vanilla. I got some in the house right now. But I would not use a vanilla extract in my soaps when I just buy some vanilla and, you know, use it in such a way where you don't get a bunch of brown, because pure vanilla will give you a very, very brown soap. And maybe I don't always want a brown soap. Maybe I want some fun colors. See what I'm saying? Some things is better in its natural form, and some things, well, I'll let you do this part and that part, and then, hey, I get something usable along the way. Alrighty then. For some reason, that did not want to come out of there, and it still doesn't. Okay. Yeah, you wait till the last slice to act up, really? Oh, it's almost liquid. Okay, that's the end piece. That's also the piece I test for causticity. In other words, make sure it's not going to burn the skin off of anybody, which I'm sure it won't. For the longest, I was concerned if I put enough lye in there, because it didn't set up as fast as, you know. But then again, when you're reaching emulsification instead of trace, all kinds of things get interesting about that. Like a soap that might not set up for 6 hours after you make it. And make the poor little novice panic over, was it the lard? Did this happen? Did that happen? You know what I mean? Anyway, it's got that lard smell, but going back, how about we do this? There we go. Every piece is up for this one. So I'm going to test that one. And you can't compromise the pH by having a spritz of vinegar on there, because, well, duh. Vinegar is the acid that we use to neutralize the base. In other words, if you got some lye and you got some vinegar and you got a spill, you're going to neutralize that lye by putting it on anything with vinegar. That's green. That's a very, very deep green. So we know it is in the 8, hoping for a 7. So after the cure date, I'll be testing this again. But because I do have my finger on that one part, I'm going to do that again. So that way I make sure it wasn't having my finger touch something. definitely green. So I'll put that with all the rest. And then we'll call this a successful pudding. I gotta go put on some presentable clothes. Yeah, in other words, I'm going to go get dressed. And this has been People7 on Twitter and YouTube, People elsewhere on the internet. My blog is located at purplebutterfly-people.blogspot.com. My soaps, Purple Butterfly Soaps, can be located at people.etsy.com. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I will be back in the next video. I also got to go step on a scale. Wish me luck on that. Stay blessed, y'all. Bye now.